Good day, mega peeps. My friends, it's a wonderful day to live. The world is still working. It is indeed still civilized. We can count on, in most parts, the better angels of our nature. One can wander around the streets of Hong Kong in relative safety, even when one is very, very drunk. And this is a good thing. People tend to tolerate one another. It's a marvelous thing to see this. And part of the reason for this is that our institutions are still intact, still making a difference in people's lives, still trusted and believed in and respected, and in some cases even revered. But now, we're living in bizarre times, probably as a direct result of this wonderful, miraculous internet that we're all experiencing, with our wonderful, exciting devices that we have. And this brings me to what I wanted to say today, which is that a dear friend of mine sent me a soft copy of Fire and Fury by Michael Wolff in PDF format. And I thought I would take that and contrast it with another book about politics, political order, and so on, by Francis Fukuyama. Political Order and Political Decay. And just to kind of compare and contrast the magnitude and the gravitas, if you will, of these two works, which one may be grandly more exciting and popular than the other, obviously, this one being rather thick and rather serious, a bit academic, if you will, and the other one being more for an audience of disgust and cultural fear and disappointment, perhaps, that we have such a man as Donald J. Trump in the White House, the President of the United States of America, the most powerful country in the world, the biggest economy, the most dangerous and feared military the world has ever known since the dawn of civilization 8,000 years ago. And therefore, I would like to spend a few days reading excerpts from these two works. One could arguably be called a work of fiction, fan fiction perhaps, anti-fan fiction. The other a serious academic work by the man who coined the phrase, the end of history. Ah! I think not. If I change my accent several times during this presentation, it's simply because I can't speak eloquently unless I'm putting on an accent. It helps me think clearly, takes me out of my zone of insecurity. Day 1. Chapter 3, Fire and Fury. Paragraph 1. Jared Kushner, at 36, prided himself on his ability to get along with older men. By the time of Donald Trump's inauguration, he had become the designated intermediary between his father-in-law and the establishment, such as it was. More moderate Republicans, corporate interests, the New York rich, having aligned to Kushner, seemed to offer an alarmed elite a handle on a volatile situation. Wow. Jared definitely had a bit of a thing there. And I'd like to read from the introduction to Francis Fukuyama's Political Order and Political Decay. And we're on page 6. The section is called The Problem with Government. The three examples may seem very different cases, where problems are driven by specific policies, personalities, and historical context, but they are in fact linked by a common thread that serves as a background condition for all political life. Institutions. Institutions are stable, valued, recurring patterns of behavior that persist beyond the tenure of individual leaders. They are, in essence, persistent rules that shape, limit, and channel human behavior. Post-Gaddafi Libya's problem is a lack of basic institutions, most notably a state. Until there is a single central source of authority that exercises a legitimate monopoly of force in that country, there will be no citizen security or the conditions for individuals to flourish. At the other end of the scale, the United States has long-standing and powerful institutions, but they have been subject to political decay. Government institutions that are supposed to serve public purposes have been captured by powerful private interests, such that democratic majorities have a difficult time asserting their control. The problem is not just one of money and power. It also has to do with the rigidities of the rules themselves and of the ideas supporting them. Oh, well, goodness gracious. I have a feeling that this other little book is going to take a different type of turn. Let's read another little piece from Fire and Fury. Several of his fathers-in-law's circle of confidants also confided in Kushner, often confiding their worries about their friend, the president. I give him good advice about what he needs to do, and for 3 hours the next day he does it, and then goes hopelessly off script, complained one of them to Trump's son-in-law, Kushner, whose pose was to take things in and not give much back. Said he understood the frustration. These powerful figures tried to convey a sense of real-world politics, which they all claimed to comprehend at some significantly higher threshold than the soon-to-be president. They were all concerned that Trump did not understand what he was up against, that there was simply not enough method to the madness. Each of these interlocutors provided Kushner with something of a tutorial on the limitations of presidential power. That Washington was as much designed to frustrate and undermine presidential power as to accommodate it. Don't let him piss off the press. Don't let him piss off the Republican Party. Don't threaten congressmen because they will fuck you if you do. And most of all, don't let him piss off the intel community, said one of the Republican figure to Kushner. If you fuck the intel community, they will figure out a way to get back at you, and you'll have 2 or 3 years of Russian investigation, and every day something else will leak out. A vivid picture was painted for the paternally composed Kushner of spies in the power, of how secrets were passed out of the intelligence community to former members of the community, or to other allies in Congress, or even to persons in the executive branch, and then to the press. Oh, the fourth estate! Well, I hope that you've been able to discern a bit of contrast between these two great works of literature. And I hope that by reading one, we get insights into the other, and vice versa. And perhaps, maybe, some people, instead of reading Fire and Fury, will instead read Francis Fukuyama, Political Order and Political Decay. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy yourselves, live it up, live large. We're still here, things are still working. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again real soon. Thanks again.